this issue could be DeSantis' launching pad into significance on the national stage at Trump's expense. At Trump's expense. Thanks so much, Janar. You're just coping about the dilemma. Actually, I am. I am coping about that. I am coping about that. I am. Because although it was extremely unpopular among the EFF constituency, like it went directly at their expense, and it was so unpopular for them, and clearly they're going to have to change their line in some regards and understand the stakes of the position they're taking in its full international context. It did, I guess, start getting me to think about, you know, how do you really respond to that phenomena? And, you know, when you think about it, without getting into specifics, this phenomena, which represents such an extreme point of agony, confusion, and anguish among the younger generations, which is the cause of so much suffering and confusion, and so many people are lost, and so many people don't know how to initiate themselves into a normal kind of man or woman adulthood, and are stuck in this confusion. And it is causing so much anguish and strife, and it's spreading so rapidly, and it's leading people to be separated from their families and their communities and relegated to these dangerous fringe ones. Can you simply assume the position of saying, oh yeah, fuck all these people, I'm normal and they're all freaks, to hell with them? You know, I don't think that's a sustainable position. I think we need to speak to the troubles and problems facing our youth. If we can't do that, how can we assume leadership over the people? Can't just pretend like this isn't an issue among the youth, because it is. And the way you solve that issue isn't by ignoring the problem, but by providing leadership and an positive example in the opposite direction, which is not what the EFF is really doing here. Thank you so much, DTA.
It's clear the ruling elite are just playing racquetball in regards to the LGBT issue. The event that will be unnamed involving a trans person was 100% an MKUltra-esque psych op. It's all part of it.
Thank you so much, DTA. I appreciate you. I'm not sure about that. The EFF isn't doing that here. They're just kind of... They're not providing an alternative example, but they are acknowledging that this phenomena exists, and that I do agree with them on one thing. You can't respond to it by pretending it has not taken hold of the youth in a very fundamental way. The newer generation. You can't deal with it by pretending it hasn't done that. I think the way to deal with it is provide guidance for how to become a man or how to become a woman, which is what's lacking. Provide guidance to offer clarity in the stead of the widespread cultural confusion. So instead of ostracizing or attacking or berating anyone, we just need a way to offer clarity in this day and age where sexuality has become completely obfuscated and confused for people, right? But let me tell you what you can't do, right? I'm going to tell you the truth. I remember a few years ago, I saw that there was this heterosexual pride parade. And they said, we want to have our own straight pride parade. And then I said, this is already a deviation from heterosexuality. You can't see all of the various responses to the LGBT phenomena are failures. And that should be frankly admitted. Do you want to know where the most amount of deviance within my community comes from? It comes from the most right-wing. The most right-wing people who orbit my community are the most immersed in that deviance. I will offer up Stannis as an example. Stannis was constantly he's now like posting Nazi shit or whatever, I guess, saying he likes Hitler or something. But he was also extremely different when it came to his lifestyle, okay? In my community, the most deviant sexually is also the most politically deviant, meaning to the far right, extreme right. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Because I think a lot of anti-LGBT fails to be anti-LGBT. It just gets caught up in the very logic it attempts to critique. It gets absorbed in the very logic it attempts to critique. So my response to that is not nihilism, saying, oh, heterosexuality isn't real. My response to that is to say heterosexuality is founded upon heterogeity. If I'm saying that correctly. It means difference. So take the you can't represent heterosexual norms by explicitly referencing sexuality. For example, someone who embodies heterosexual norms is Stalin. When did Stalin ever talk about sex? Never. But because of the way he interpolates the Soviet subject. Thank you so much,
Azov is a perfect example of what you're talking about with the dissident right.
Exactly, right? Heterogeneity, right? So, I think a lot of this is a symptom of the pornographic age that we live in. A lot of the sexual confusion, if not all of it actually, but we're on YouTube, so I can't really get really deep into what I'm talking about, but the sexual confusion of our age stems from pornography. Because sexuality has become phenomenalized by the information age, by images, by the internet, and by basically people's internal sexual privacy has become externalized through images and through media, right? And that relation of dependency has generated alternative sexualities. If you understand what I'm getting here. The dependency of internal private sexuality upon its external representation in media, specifically when it gets reduced to that, is the source of all alternate deviations, if you catch my drift. And extremist forms of conservatism on the internet are no exception to that. The trad posting, for example, those trad Twitter accounts, whatever, that is also an LGBT phenomena, for example. There's this famous thing in right-wing Twitter about this this woman, and they said this was what an ancient Greek towel boy looked like in ancient Greece. You guys know that famous post? So, but that came from right-wing Twitter, you know? So, these are all symptoms of the same phenomena. So I reject, yes, Malema did get me thinking. I don't agree with what he did, but today he got me thinking because I don't accept, just because I don't, let me put it this way. I reject much of the anti-LGBT sentiment because it fails to escape the logic of the thing it's trying to critique. And I think in the case of Uganda, of course it's based to be able to assert independence from American NGOs and American soft power imperialism. That is very based. But the extreme draconian laws that are adopted, by the way, it's not like Uganda's an Islamic republic or a theocracy, seem to me, that extremity seems to be a form of demagoguery and a distraction from the government's own corruption. And I do think that the EFF, as Africans, have a right to voice their disagreement with it. Not on the basis of supporting American intervention or NGOs, but you have to really look at the laws, because it's not like we're talking about what Cuba did, where they're changing the definition of... No, it's just a very simple, like... It's pretty extreme, you know? It's pretty extreme, you know? And I don't think you can respond. Thank you so much, MIG. I think the youth is very lost and confused. And I don't think the Uganda model is a correct or even sufficient response to that. I think we need to represent hope for the youth. But I can't say this on YouTube, but I like Russia. Let me just say that. Russian model on certain issues, which I'm not going to mention directly, I think is the best one. I think the Russian model is the best one. Personally speaking, though. That's just me personally speaking. One more word on this topic. The problem our generation faces is a lack of ability to have privacy. I don't think... See, heterosexuality is a sexuality of privacy. And the logic of pornography directly undermines and subverts that. Privacy means it's always indirect. It's always kind of read between the lines. It's always subtlety, right? When you go directly to the thing, that's where you get all of the other variations. When you try to directly get at the thing by means of representing it through language, you get at the other thing. And the internet is the cause of that. So what we need is an ability to have privacy again. And guys, you know what country doesn't have this problem as a widespread, contentious social issue at all? China. Now, let me tell you another thing. You know which country bans pornography and actually goes through with the ban with the Great Firewall technology and really ostracizes pornography? China. That's not a coincidence. China. Pornography gets you ostracized culturally and socially, and they ban it, and it's illegal, okay? And China doesn't seem to have a lot of the problems we have when it comes to the confusion of the youth. So that I think there's a reason for that, you know?